Good afternoon. I'm Vaishali Shah, a part of the FHWA TIM Program Contractor Support Team. Welcome to the National Kickoff webinar for Crash Responder Safety Week. This webinar is hosted by the Federal Highway Administration with support from the National Operations Center of Excellence. To commemorate the start of Crash Responder Safety Week, the Federal Highway Administration is pleased to share with the Traffic Incident Management, or TIM community, messages, testimonials, and strategies to promote the safety of traffic incident responders and all road users. Please note, all participant lines have been muted. Our webinar support team is available to answer questions for presenters using the webinar questions feature, but there will be no question and answer session for this webinar. Please also note that later in the webinar, we will be using the Menti platform. We encourage participants to visit menti.com and enter code 5275-8562. This information is also shared through the chat window and will be made available later. It is now my pleasure to pass the stage over to Martin Knapp, Associate Administrator for Operations at the Federal Highway Administration, to commence this event. Over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon and good morning to those farther west. It is my privilege as the Associate Administrator for Operations at the Federal Highway Administration to welcome you to the virtual National Kickoff for Crash Responder Safety Week. Crash Responder Safety Week focuses attention on the safety of emergency responders and road users and celebrates our nation's Traffic Incident Management, or TIM, professionals. This group includes both emergency responders and broader roadway response coordination teams. TIM professionals representing law enforcement, fire, EMS, public safety, public works, towing, and transportation communities work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We know very well the important role that they play in safely and quickly managing vehicle crashes, medical emergencies, disabled vehicles, roadway debris, and other roadway incidents. By quickly clearing roads and providing assistance, TIM professionals reduce the likelihood of secondary crashes. They prevent loss of life, injuries, property damage, traffic delays, and supply chain disruptions. To officially kick off Crash Responder Safety Week, I am pleased to present a special message from the Federal Highway Administration's Acting Administrator, Stephanie Pollack.
Throughout Crash Responder Safety Week, November 8th to November 14th, we are drawing attention to the important work of our first responders at the scene of roadway incidents in communities across America. This is not a subject we can take lightly. While we celebrate the work of our responder communities, we also honor those who have fallen in the line of duty. In past decades, hundreds of responders, including law enforcement and fire and rescue, towing and recovery, safety service patrol, and public works responders have been taken from us while they were working to help others. The fact is that nearly every week a responder is killed while helping clear a roadway incident, and many more sustain life-altering injuries. This year, 50 traffic incident responders have been killed while making a road safer after a traffic incident. I encourage all our incident responders to take the free Traffic Incident Management, or TIM, training available from the Federal Highway Administration. And I encourage all travelers to stay alert on the roadways, slow down, and move over when you see any road worker. Today, we recognize the sacrifice of those who have lost their lives in the line of duty and recognize that the loss of even one more life is too great a burden. Most importantly, please remember that although we're raising awareness this week, Crash Responder Safety Week is not just about 1 week. It's about saving lives every day throughout the year.
As Acting Administrator Pollack noted, Crash Responder Safety Week is not just about 1 week. It's about saving lives every day throughout the year. Today begins a pivotal week for addressing a serious issue, that of increasing deaths and injuries among road users and among traffic incident response communities. This includes pedestrians, cyclists, motorists, and emergency responders. In 2019, 44 traffic incident responders were killed while helping to clear roadway incidents. The number of responder deaths rose to 46 in year 2020, and even with reduced travel and a 73% decline in traffic congestion. Already this year, 53 responders have made the ultimate sacrifice. An unknown number of responders are also injured in ways that are often life-changing and career-ending. That's why the Federal Highway Administration, in partnership with all of you, continues to push for efficient detection, response, and removal of incidents on our nation's roads. FHWA and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, are committed to working with every traffic incident responder community to prevent line-of-duty deaths and injuries. We do this by promoting training and preparedness for incident responders. We do this by supporting strong TIM committees and advanced TIM practices. We do this by promoting data collection and analysis surrounding responders struck by events so that better technologies and strategies can be implemented. NHTSA and FHWA, and with support from our Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, will continue to work together with our law enforcement, fire and EMS, towing, transportation, and public works partners, and our state highway safety offices to increase driver awareness of move-over laws and to highlight the need to protect responders who place themselves at risk to protect and assist motorists. The truth is, we need a change. Today, you will hear testimonials from responders and their families affected by struck-by incidents. You will hear about actions response leaders can take to improve the safety of incident responders. You will hear how response organizations will foster awareness of Crash Responder Safety Week within their community and among the traveling public. And you'll hear what each of us can do to collectively promote Crash Responder Safety Week. My sincere thanks to every responder and response leader making a commitment today to amplify Crash Responder Safety Week and for putting your lives on the line every day for each of us. Now let me hand it over to Mark Curley, our Director of Transportation Operations.
Thank you, Associate Administrator Knapp, and to our FHWA Acting Administrator, Stephanie Pollack. We're kicking off Crash Responder Safety Week. I want to also acknowledge NHTSA's Acting Administrator, Stephen Cliff, as well as Stephanie Pollack for messages that will be shared later today in this webinar. We just saw the first of the two. These messages will also be broadcast through multiple channels to bring greater awareness to Crash Responder Safety Week. Before hearing from some of our National Association and organization representatives of the Traffic Incident Management, TIM, Executive Leadership Group, ELG, I would like to take a few minutes to briefly reflect on some of the history of the Executive Leadership Group. This week, we're commemorating the 6th National Traffic Incident Management Awareness Week, previously known as National Traffic Incident Response Awareness Week, NTIRAW, and now known as Crash Responder Safety Week, CRSW. And next month, we'll be marking the 9th anniversary of the TIM Executive Leadership Group. The Executive Leadership Group was created as an action item from the first Senior Executive Transportation and Public Safety Summit in June of 2012 that included participation by then U.S. DOT Secretary LaHood. ELG was created to maintain executive level focus on advancing action items and ideas from the summit and subsequent summits, including the 2015 and 2019 summits that included participation by then U.S. DOT Secretaries Fox and Chow, respectively. ELG executive level member representatives from each national association or organization participate in biannual group meetings and midpoint calls, and then go forward to advance action items, ideas, and initiatives resulting from the national summits in order to lead change within their different spheres of influence, their peers, their fellow executives, their association, their organization membership, as well as throughout the TIM discipline, their particular TIM discipline. In addition to the Federal Highway Administration, the original member organizations included AASHTO, the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, the IACP, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the IAFC, the International Association of Fire Chiefs, the NVFC, the National Volunteer Fire Council. Since then, the ELG has expanded to 15 member associations or organizations and includes great support from other US DOT modal administrations, including the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA. At this point, I would like to thank the Executive Leadership Group member representatives for participating in today's kickoff event for Crash Responder Safety Week, as well as their continued support and friendship, and turn over the program to one of our Traffic Incident Management Program Managers, Jim Ostrich.
Thank you, Director Curley, for sharing a brief history of the Traffic Incident Management Executive Leadership Group. As Director Curley noted, the Federal Highway Administration is not alone in championing responder and motorist safety, as doubly evidenced by all who have gathered here today. We are honored today to welcome first responders, those impacted by responders struck by events, and leaders across every traffic incident response community. Today, we already heard from our FHWA Associate Administrator, Martin Knopp, from Stephanie Pollack, the FHWA Acting Administrator, and Director Mark Curley, Director of Transportation Operations. In a few minutes, we will hear from each response community the ways to collaboratively promote Crash Responder Safety Week. Later in the webinar, we will hear firsthand about the impact of first responder struck-bys, and we will learn how much each of us can make a difference, whether at the federal, state, or local level. The 6th year of bringing awareness to traffic incident management, or TIM, we embark with a new name, Crash Responder Safety Week. This is a name that is easier to use, easier to remember, and more engaging for all road users. The name better supports the goals of this campaign to save lives of traffic incident responders and road users. The 6th year, the FHWA convened a Crash Responder Safety Week National Committee. The mission that you see here to implement a national campaign that effectively communicates the simple steps that everyone can take in keeping our roadway responders and the public safe. Many of the TIM ELG member organizations and their communications teams have gone above and beyond serving on this committee and contributing their expertise. The National CRSW Committee has been meeting monthly, and collectively we have crafted a Crash Responder Safety Week campaign toolkit and a theme for each day of this week, Crash Responder Safety Week. The campaign toolkit has been accessed, or I'm sorry, the campaign toolkit can be accessed with the bit.ly link in blue. We, the Crash Responder National Committee, encourage every responder, response family, and broader community to use the hashtag CRSW to raise awareness for traffic incident responder safety. I now invite each Crash Responder Safety Week National Committee member to share a little bit about their association, to spotlight how to amplify the visibility and message for each day's theme. Collectively, we embark with a resolute commitment this week and every subsequent week to make sure that every traffic incident responder is trained and that every road user slows down and moves over for stopped emergency and service vehicles. With that, it is my pleasure to ask Andrea Ailes from the American Public Works Association, APWA, to share the theme for today, proclamations and press releases.
Hello, and welcome to Crash Responder Safety Week. I am Andrea Eels, Director of Government and Public Affairs for the American Public Works Association. Public works professionals are first responders, and this includes responding to traffic incidents and protecting the traveling public by designing and building strong, safe, and resilient infrastructure, setting up protective barriers, removing crash debris, and supporting our first responder partners in law enforcement, fire, EMS, emergency communications, towing, and others. APWA and our 30,000 members are working diligently to educate and train public works professionals across the United States to reduce crashes and their resulting injuries and deaths. One way Crash Responder Safety Week is being recognized is through proclamations. Nearly a dozen state governors have issued proclamations for Crash Responder Safety Week. These proclamations are official announcements, bringing public awareness to this cause. Today's theme is about reaching out to the public through proclamations and press releases. Organizations can download a Crash Responder Safety Week press release template and customize it for their region and response community. And if your state's governor has issued a proclamation, send out a tweet highlighting that proclamation. You may find the press release template and sample tweets in the Crash Responder Safety Week campaign toolkit using the bit.ly link. The Federal Highway Administration issued a Crash Responder Safety Week proclamation. Leaders like APWA's President Stan Brown and others from many national level organizations committed to roadway safety have signed this proclamation. I am now pleased to share the virtual proclamation signing coordinated by the Federal Highway Administration.
So now we invite all of you others that would like to sign the proclamation by entering, going to menti.com and entering the code that you see here. We're going to pause and allow for certain signatures to appear, and then we'll move on to the rest of our program. Outstanding. This looks great. Keep them coming, folks. All of you have the opportunity to sign. Thank you. I see Brian Purvis, Georgia, Grady, Carrick, Florida. A lot of friends of the National TIM community. Thank you. Keep signing. This is very, very good. Jason, Sawala, Kentucky, thank you. Kelly, Pache, AEM, Corey from Hostler. This is wonderful. Keep them coming. Chris King, Delaware. Angela Roper, Arizona. Sean, FDOT. Jack Sullivan, our dear friend from the Emergency Responder Safety Institute. Welcome and thanks for joining us. Doug Oates, Colorado State Patrol. This is great. Division members too. Millie down in Texas, and Charles Meyer at California. Don Miller, Michigan. Boy, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. This is so important, ladies and gentlemen. This is our official launch of this special week, the second week in November every year. And you're a part of it. And now, as you heard, our national committee, all 50 states, the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, participating in this very important week. As you heard our leadership mention already, to ensure that responders get to go home and our motorists, our families get to go home every day. Move over, slow down, move over. This is fantastic. Wow. All of you are leaders. All of you are champions. Paul, Joe, and I, and we're humbled by all of you, all your participation and leadership in traffic incident management. Wow. Saving lives. Well, we're going to leave this open for more signatures. Please keep signing away. This will remain available to open. Is that correct, Vishali, Amira?
That is correct, Jim. We'll stay open for 24 hours if you want to share with your colleagues and friends to sign the proclamation as well.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. See a lot of folks I don't recognize, so welcome to you all. Thank you for participating. Pat Gallagher, Nevada, retired major. Bob Murphy, AECOM, all of you. And as you heard Associate Administrator Martin Cannot mention, it's all modes, if you will. We're out there to protect bicyclists, pedestrians, motorists, and the responders. Tim is cross-cutting into all those areas, urban, rural, state, local. Good incident management practices make a difference, a big difference. Look at that, Roger Ryder, U.S. Virgin Islands. Thanks for joining us, Roger. All the disciplines represented too. It's wonderful to see your names and your willingness to sign this proclamation. You'll hear shortly from my colleague Paul, Joden, and Joe a little bit more on the line of duty deaths and of course our broader TIM program. So thank you. And with that, I would like to introduce Colonel Michael Rapich, Utah Highway Patrol, and also representing the International Association of Chiefs of Police. Colonel.
Good afternoon. I'm Colonel Michael Rapich with Utah Highway Patrol, and I'm proud to be part of the IACP representative of the Traffic Incident Management Executive Leadership Group. And I'm glad for the opportunity today to bring attention to slow down and move over. As law enforcement leaders, we have a responsibility to the public safety of our communities, but we also for the safety of our officers. Officer safety goes beyond traditional armed encounters. As leaders, we cannot dismiss the fact that too many officers have been seriously injured or killed while handling traffic incidents. According to the Officer Down Memorial page, in the 10-year period from 2010 to 2019, 535 law enforcement officers were killed as a result of collisions and struck by incidents on our nation's roadways. Move over laws are in place to keep road responders and road users safe. They are being strengthened in many states throughout through defined slowdown requirements, more significant penalties, and inclusion of broader traffic responder type vehicles. By example, Pennsylvania strengthened their move over law this year to include a 20-mile-an-hour speed reduction from the posted speed limit, penalties of $500 for the first offense, $1,000 for the second offense, and $2,000 for the third offense, all with license suspension penalties. However, we still have a significant gap in awareness of and adherence to these laws. A 2020 AAA study found that nearly 30% of 19 to 39-year-old drivers did not know there was a move over law in their state. Another 5% believe there was no law. To be clear, all 50 states have a move over law. We must focus on increasing awareness and enforcement of this requirement. This is serious. When drivers fail to slow down and move over, excuse me, when drivers don't follow slow down and move over laws, results can be tragic and horrible. We must focus on both public awareness and enforcement of move over laws. We must use every channel to raise public awareness on why move over laws are important and explain to the public why it matters. The video you are about to see provides a vivid and graphic look at the consequences of failure to slow down and move over. Fortunately, our troopers survived and eventually returned to full duty. However, far too often, and for far too many of our traffic responders, that is not the case. So, tomorrow, I urge every traffic incident responder, every responder family member, and neighbor to use social media to have the public take notice. There are 700,000 law enforcement officers in the United States and likely millions of traffic incident responders across the response communities. I urge every law enforcement, public works, towing, transportation, EMS, and other traffic incident response agency to reach out to mass media to deliver a Crash Responder Safety Week press release, whether today or tomorrow. Visit the Crash Responder Safety Week Outreach Toolkit, for example, for sample tweets. Make them your own and be sure to get the message out. The International Association of Chiefs of Police and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration are key partners in driver and responder safety. And I'm pleased to introduce a message that Dr. Stephen Cliff has prepared to share with you today and to share more broadly through social media to align tomorrow's theme, slow down and move over. Thank you.
This Crash Responder Safety Week, we're honoring the hard work, dedication, and sacrifices of our first responders. Their offices and workspace are our roads. While first responders are working to treat patients or clean up after a crash, drivers may zip by without a second thought. It only takes a moment for tragedy to strike. That's why we're reminding all drivers to give our first responders, that includes police, emergency medical services, firefighters, tow trucks, and maintenance crews, some much needed space. Slow down, move over, be safe. It's not only the right thing to do, it's the law. All 50 states have move over laws, which require drivers to move over or slow down when passing first responders alongside the road. While our first responders are working to keep us safe, let's do the same for them. Thank you, and please stay safe.
Thank you, Rapich and Acting Administrator Cliff. NHTSA Acting Administrator Cliff. Next up. Thank you. Next up is not Charles Blankenship, or is it? Oh, I'm sorry, Chief Norris Kroom, Colorado, representing IAFC, as well as the International Association of Firefighters and National Volunteer Fire Council. My apologies, Chief. Take it away.
No apologies, Jim, and thank you. I'm having a little challenge with my webcam, so we're going to pass on that. But on behalf of the IAFC, the International Association of Firefighters, and the National Volunteer Fire Council, it truly is my privilege to speak for all three of our organizations in our collective efforts on supporting Crash Responder Safety Week as well as TIM training. As we toggle through the next slides, Wednesday's theme is responder training. We ask that all responders use this hashtag CRSW and share that you're TIM trained. And as we look at our different organizations, moving forward to our next slide, the IFC's efforts this week, we do have an article published on Crash Responder Safety Week that went out in the IT's publication, We're also going to be sharing a number of different messages across our social media platforms. The IAFF has a message posted. If you go to the next slide, please. From General President Edward A. Kelly has a specific video message, and they're also sharing an IAFF CRSW toolkit, again, with a number of social media opportunities, infographics, video message, and additional resources from federal highways. The National Volunteer Fire Council, on the next slide, please, actually hosted a Facebook Live event discussing the challenges and strategies for keeping first responders safe at roadway incidents. And they are also currently working on grant funding to promote roadway safety, TIM training, and the slow down, move over messaging year round. You can visit all three of our websites for additional information on that. And again, Wednesday's theme on the next slide is responder training. We've talked about the hashtag. We also encourage you to have all of your fellow responders complete the TIM training. There's a number of opportunities through National Highway Institute as well as respondersafety.com that afford that opportunity to you, and they're free. Finally, at this time, it is my honor to introduce a message from Stephanie Pollack, the FHWA Acting Administrator, emphasizing the importance of TIM training. Her message is for everyone on the webinar today and for every responder out in the field. Her message will also be shared through FHWA social media on Wednesday. Thank you.
Crash Responder Safety Week is a unique opportunity for responders like you to step back from the job of helping others and make sure that you're protecting yourself. One of the main opportunities we hope that first responders will consider is the Traffic Incident Management, or TIM, training from the Federal Highway Administration. The training offers practical and valuable information on significantly reducing your risk while helping others to safety. More than 550,000 first responders have taken this TIM training, but we need many more in order to close the gap and make sure that everyone is following fundamental practices. If you haven't taken it yet, I encourage you to take the 4-hour course this week. It's available online or in person at no cost, and it may save your life. We encourage each member of the traffic incidents community to take the free training, including those in law enforcement, fire and rescue, emergency medical services, transportation, public safety communications, emergency management, towing and recovery, and public works. Thank you for your service, and please stay safe.
Next up is Sheriff John Wetzel, representing the National Sheriff's Association. Welcome, Sheriff.
Thank you, Jim. My name is John, Sheriff Retired John Wetzel with the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office. I'm chair of the Traffic Safety Committee for the National Sheriff's Association and also have served as past president of the IACP. Today, I bring you greetings from the National Sheriff's Association on behalf of Sheriff Vernon Stanforth, Executive Director Jonathan Thompson, Mike Sagel, our Traffic Safety Project Manager and Committee Liaison, and over 3,000 sheriffs across America. The National Sheriff's Association supports traffic incident management and this week by participating year-round in the Executive Leadership Group and providing TIM training at our annual and midwinter conferences. In addition, we are publishing articles in the Sheriff and Deputy magazine and our monthly traffic safety newsletter. We also are providing messages on social media platforms and participating in other events throughout the week. Over 3,000 sheriffs and their deputies manage traffic incidents, working collaboratively with other emergency responders. The ultimate goal is saving the lives of over 100 people, including first responders, who die every day in motor vehicle crashes. While seemingly dying in a motor vehicle crash has become an acceptable way to die in America, that many deaths must never be accepted in this country. And yet this year, traffic deaths are up over 18% over last year. Over 30% of law enforcement officers who die in the line of duty are killed in roadway incidents. Not one of them died by accident. So please call them what they are. They're not accidents. They are crashes, collisions, wrecks. No one dies accidentally in a motor vehicle crash. Thursday, we honor veterans on Veterans Day. We honor and thank every armed forces veteran for their service and their sacrifice for our country. We also give special thanks to those veterans who continue to serve in their communities as emergency responders, involved daily in traffic incident management and saving lives on America's roadway. We honor veterans on Thursday and throughout the year. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Sheriff. Next up is Joanne Blyton, President of the Tow and Recovery Association of America. Joanne.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here, and I want to thank Federal Highway for the opportunity to participate with this group and ELG and all the safety measures that we take on to protect first responders. I'm current president of the Tow and Recovery Association of America, and that group has been the voice of America's towing industry for 40+ years. We represent more than 35,000 towing businesses, 350,000 operators, and over 50 state towing associations nationwide. Motorist and responder safety are the primary focus of our work. Yet, according to the research by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the towing industry is 15 times deadlier than all other private industries combined. The towing industry suffers the loss of one tow operator every 6 days on our nation's roadways. Working together with our traffic incident management partners and following TIM practices reduces line of duty deaths, reduces motorist deaths, and keeps the highways open for travel. TRIA has been promoting TIM training within our industry, as well as promoting adherence to slow down and move over laws, which include towing and recovery personnel in every state. TRIA is pleased to share the Friday theme for Crash Responder Safety Week, which is responder recognition. Today, we recognize that those that have given their lives while working to keep our roads safe. And we ask the public to honor the tens of thousands of traffic incident responders who risk their lives daily to keep our roads safe by clearing roadway incidents. How can we thank every responder? We can thank them by slowing down and moving over and helping to educate the motoring public. In the words of Martin Luther King, I have a dream. TRIA has a dream that the day will come when no more names are inscribed on our Wall of the Fallen in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And as a sidebar to my thoughts today, our governor is signing a proclamation. He has combined Slow Down, Move Over, First and Crash Responder Safety Week in the proclamation. Today is also sentencing day for a young man who took 2 of our family members, October 25th, 2020, away from us. So thank you for the opportunity to be here, and always be safe.
Thank you, Joanne. Next up is Charles Blankenship, a member of leadership with the National Emergency Medical Services Management Association. Charles.
Thank you, Mike. Good day. I'm Charles Blankenship, Director at Large and Secretary of the National EMS Management Association. Our EMS leaders, paramedicine officers are indispensable in providing pre-hospital emergency medical care. From our smallest rural frontier volunteer rescue squads to the largest metropolitan EMS system, we are an association of more than 1,200 diverse EMS leaders, paramedicine leaders, Unfortunately, our members and EMS providers in the field are put in harm's way every time we respond to a crash. Statistics show here that for 2 decades, and specific to ambulances, looking more broadly, 170 people died in crashes involving emergency vehicles in 2019. Nearly 40% of these deaths were occupants of an emergency vehicle. NEMSA supports the TIMS training for all EMS professionals and recognizes that now EMS professionals, paramedics, EMTs can receive continuing education credits for the TIM training. Next slide, please. While our EMS professionals mainly respond to crashes on the roadways, we also, excuse me, we also know that our fellow responders are placed in harm's way every day when it comes to other types of incidents, from stalled vehicles, traffic stops, roadway debris, or even doing pothole repairs. This Saturday, let's make road users aware that they should stay alert, slow down, and move over, not just for crashes, but for every roadway incident where Public Works, Safety Service Patrol, EMS, fire, rescue, law enforcement, and other responders are at work. There are many ways to broaden the traffic incident management awareness. Invite the community and the media, public officials, and responders tell good stories to open house this Friday or Saturday at your fire station, police station, towing business, Safety Service Patrol garage, EMS bay, or auto club office. Promote the event in your town with posters and handouts. Promote through local radio, newspapers, websites, social media. It's important to tell people before and after to ask radio and TV stations if they want to do live broadcasts. But in today's environment, consider virtual options as well. For example, share a tweet or post an Instagram message. Make your community aware of the many traffic incident responders and the many types of traffic incidents, all of whom we need to slow down and move over for. Again, thank you for the Federal Highway Safety Administration and for the executive leadership group and my peers there for this opportunity to share this awareness.
Thank you, Mr. Blankenship. Next up is Keith Williams, who is a division chief at NHTSA for safety and the Office of Justice. Keith?
Good afternoon, and thank you, Jim. Good afternoon, I'm Keith Williams with NHTSA, and I thank you for the opportunity to join you today for Crash Responder Safety Week. So I'll be giving you a little information about how driver education works to support first responder safety. Next slide, please. So the driver education system is complex and involves a great deal of coordination through a number of stakeholders at the national and state levels. NHTSA works with these stakeholders to provide research, resources, and other support to bring driver education and licensing services to novice teen and other driver communities. So looking at these logos, the Highway Safety Services works with the American Driver and Traffic Safety Education Association, or ADSEA, which generally represents government or public providers of driver education, and the Driving School Association of the Americas, the SAA, which generally represents private business providers of driver education. Then the Association of National Stakeholders in Traffic Safety Education, or ANSTE, brings these groups together to develop and maintain driver education standards. And finally, the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, or AMVA, works with state motor vehicle administration or departments of motor vehicles to provide testing and skills evaluation support services in issuing driver's licenses. Next slide, please. So in partnership with NHTSA, ANSTE holds stewardship and oversight over the Novice Teen Driver Education and Training Administrative Standards, or NTDIS. These curriculum standards provides guidance for the development of driver education curriculum for both classroom and in-car construction. You should know that there is no single national driver education curriculum. States select all or some of the non-NTDIS components to meet their individual state needs. So with regards to Crash Responder Safety Week, NTDIS addresses first responder safety in the standards. In car, meaning learning while driving behind the wheel, standard number 4 includes responding to emergency situations information. Specifically, the standard emphasizes the need for students to divide focal and mental attention between intended target travel paths and other tasks. The standard is intended to teach the student to utilize critical thinking, decision-making, and problem-solving skills to operate the vehicle and perform basic maneuvers in controlled risk environments. This section in controlled risk environments includes navigating road hazards, such as traffic incidents, complying with move-over laws, and yielding to emergency vehicles. Standard 7 includes standards on dealing with complex environments. This standard is intended to teach teach the student to identify and comply with space management situations on limited access roadways and roadways without limited access at maximum highway speeds. The standard identifies the need for understanding the rules of the road, specifically laws relative to yielding to emergency vehicles and move over. And finally, Classroom Standard 11 includes information about responding to emergencies, vehicle malfunctions, crashes, and understanding vehicle technologies. The standard identifies needs for students to understand and relate to how the roadway system is managed by law enforcement, along with state and local agencies, to help assist with emergencies, crashes, and vehicle malfunctions. The standard, again, identifies the need for students to understand and comply with move-over laws. So you can see that move-over and first responder safety is included in the standards for developing and using driver education curriculum, both in the classroom and in the car during behind the wheel training. Next slide, please. And I think most importantly for today is that many states include move-over test questions on their driver licensing exams. In fact, move-over laws have been included as one of the top 10 questions asked on state driver licensing examinations throughout the country. So I've also included on this slide NHTSA's marketing materials to help drivers understand their obligation in complying with move-over laws. You can find these materials on NHTSA's website, trafficsafetymarketing.gov. So this Sunday, please use the CRSW hashtag to remind drivers, especially those young drivers that are in the driver education process, about their obligation to slow down and move over in accordance with state move-over laws. Next slide. Here's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me, and I thank you for the opportunity to participate in Crash Responder Safety Week.
Thanks, Keith. Next up is, very good. Next up is Claudia Cormier. Claudia is with the San Marcos Police Department in Texas and has a special story and message to share with us. Claudia.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Claudia Cormier. I'm a detective with the San Marcos Police Department. Thank you for having me here today. It truly is an honor having me speaking here. And this is I have a small presentation for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Next slide. I've titled this Embracing the Changes. So who am I? I was born and raised in Laredo, Texas. I'm a Texas State alumna. I graduated Texas State with a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice. I married my husband in 2012. I'm currently a graduate student at Texas State with the I'm in the Master's of Public Administration program, and I was a member of the Marching Band of Texas State, Phi Sigma Pi National Fraternity, Lambda Alpha Epsilon Criminal Justice Fraternity, Sigma Lambda Gamma National Sorority Incorporated. I am currently their Chapter Operations Advisor since 2008. I'm a member of the Advisory Board for the Master's of Public Administration program, and I'm most recently was one of the new members for the San Marcos Police Department Peer Support Team. And this is our family photo back in 2016. That was when I was sworn in to become a police officer. Next slide, please. These photos, of course, I always have to include photos of our pets. We have our children, but we also have our babies. These are all our pets that we have in the home currently. Next slide, please. And these are some photos of me as throughout the years here in San Marcos. I love San Marcos. It's a great community. That was when I graduated from Texas State. I was, prior to my law enforcement career, I was a telecommunications operator from 2007 to 2016. And that's my photograph. And the next one is when I became an officer in 2016 till present. Next slide, please. As most of y'all know, I was actually struck by a vehicle while removing debris from the highway in May 18, 2019. The traffic incident occurred in the evening on the highway on IH-35. The first photograph is of my left limb. After the accident, I had approximately three to five fractures. The collision unfortunately took my right limb upon impact. The following pictures are images of me at the hospital with my pets, with my husband, and it was quite a, let's just say it was a very, we're going to describe it as, it altered a lot of things in my life, but I wanted to go ahead and dig deeper than just what happened. And so we went ahead and started talking about this into how can we turn this into something positive. The incident, yes, it happened, but I wanted to make sure we could move forward as a family and as a department and as a community. Next slide, please. I was in the hospital for 1 month, and that was followed by 2 months at a transitional care facility. And the video you're about to see was the first time I actually stood up on my left limb after it had healed, not completely, but it was able to heal. You can play the video, please. That was one of my therapists at Bridgemore Transitional Care Facility. That's where I learned how to walk, how to start moving around. So there was a lot of very important things that I accomplished while I was there. Next slide, please. The aftermath. After the incident, we wanted to make sure that we could return to, my husband and I was actually the night of the incident. So we wanted to make sure we could go back to work. We started focusing on our mental health. We attended family counseling. We had to speak to our children about this. Our family members, we all had to heal together. We attended family counseling, marriage counseling, of course, and we also we experienced a technique called EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Our physical health, we are still currently in physical therapy. I still attend 4 times a week at Texas Physical Therapy Specialist. I also wanted to make sure I could come back to work with the changes that I experienced. I now have a prosthetic that weighs approximately maybe 10 to 12 pounds. So I enrolled in DS Martial Arts, and daily activities that I do are part of my therapy. I move around the house. I have to make sure I can maneuver around obstacles around my house, our desk, or our kitchen, make sure that I can do things that I used to do them, but of course I've learned to modify. And we also have our Blue family. How can we help them heal from this, move forward with this? We most recently developed the Smpd peer support team, which is still in the works, and mental health services. We're a little bit more open, a little bit more transparent as to how are we doing? Is there anything that we can discuss, that we can talk about openly to help each other, or can we refer ourselves to somewhere else that we can get the help that we need? Next slide, please. Where do we go from here? As I said before, all these images are very important, pretty much very important things that I accomplished, that I've been going through ever since the incident. The first picture is with Matthias Ferreira. He's the nation's first double amputee police officer. He came to visit me after the incident. The second picture is going to be my husband and I. We were invited to fly out to California by the Challenge Athletes Foundation, and they actually awarded me a running prosthetic. I used to love to run, and I want to make sure that I can do that again. The third picture is with Scout Bassett. She's actually an Olympian, Paralympian. Very, very a great honor to meet her, and it just showed me that there's things that I can still do. They might be different, but I can still get back out there. And the last photo, very important, was when my husband and I decided to go public and speak about the incident that changed our lives. It didn't end them, so that was very important for us as well. Next slide, please. Adapting and celebrating, it was, like as I said before, it was something that I wanted to make sure that we move forward with this. Let's look at all the positive in there. So all these images are with my therapist. The top two are with all of my therapists that have shown me how to walk, how to move around, a lot of different things. I'm sorry, that's my doorbell. The bottom pictures are of me with my family, during holiday seasons because we were alive. We wanted to continue our celebrations. And the last picture of me on the rower, I actually learned how to row with one leg. Very, very different experience, quite challenging at first, but it's something that I was amazed that I could do. And I want to make sure that I can still keep reaching milestones that I never thought I would ever do again. Next slide, please. Moving forward, as I said before, we wanted to make sure that we continued in this journey, that we continue to move along. All these images, all these photos are very, very powerful to my husband and myself and my family. The first one is we went to a wedding. Nobody knew that I didn't have a prosthetic yet. We love to dance, and we just got up and danced. In the background, you can see my wheelchair. The second photo is of me with my first prosthetic. That was amazing. It felt great to be on 2 feet again. The third photograph was my therapist. They wanted to make sure and celebrate, I believe it's a military term, please correct me if I'm wrong, a live day. They said, you're here, let's celebrate. So they brought a cake and flowers for me. It was the 2nd anniversary after the traffic incident. And the last photograph is of me learning how to jump rope with a running prosthetic, which I didn't know I was going to be able to do it, but I said, well, all I can do is fall. So let's go for it. Next slide, please. Our future as responders, as I said before, now this is our kiddos. They're 15-year-old twins from my husband's previous marriage, and that's me on 2 legs with one of my newest prosthetics. So our future as responders, this is something that we wanted to make sure that it bring awareness to the community, even to us as first responders. What do we do? Our patrol equipment, make sure we're using everything that is given to us, our radios, our traffic vests, our cones, our lights, everything. Collaborative response, here is where how can we help each other out? As in different agencies, we have our fire department, we have neighborhood agencies that we cross jurisdictions, our deputies, DPS. If we can go ahead and help each other out, hopefully it can prevent something that happened to me. Proactive versus reactive. I know we always talk about that as law enforcement officers. How can we help each other out? Help something like this happen from happening again. Law enforcement, always be aware of our surroundings, see what's going on. As a community and as the public, well, like as I said before, my traffic incident was me removing debris. Make sure we secure everything that we have in our vehicles as we're traveling, especially now with the holiday season coming up. So that's something that's been very important to us as well. Whenever we're responding to other traffic incidents or just on the highway, make sure we see that people are securing their loads or make them aware about it. Next slide, please. And resiliency, how do we empower others? I wanted to make sure that everyone knows that all the prayers, all the support did help me a lot move forward with this. The first pictures of me throwing out the first pitch at the Texas Rangers game, which I did practice for. It was fun. It was actually a great time being out with people, being at a baseball game again on my, just being out in public, letting them know that I'm okay, I'm here. The second picture is actually about it. I believe that was after I had started getting back into working out, eating healthy, and just making sure that I can go back to work hopefully in the next couple of months. And the last pictures of my husband and me, most recently we went to Dallas for a nonprofit organization, Peace Officers Angels Foundation. We wanted to be there for them and support them, and we're very thankful for everything everybody has done for us. Thank you very much. Next slide. I believe that's it, but thank you so much for having me.
The honor is ours, Detective Cormier. We thank you for your sacrifice and for your service. Next up, we have Joey Sagel, who is the Deputy Administrator for Operations with the Maryland Department of Transportation. Joey.
Thank you so much, Jim. And Claudia, thank you very much for sharing your story. I really appreciate that. Everyone, good afternoon, good morning still. On behalf of newly elected President of AASHTO, Dr. Sean Wilson of the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, and Jim Timon, Executive Director, as well as Scott Marler, Director of the Iowa DOT, who's the Committee of Transportation Systems Operations Chair, and I, who serve on the Federal Highway Administration's Executive Leadership Group. We thank you. AASHTO continues to be a proud partner in Crash Responder Safety Week. Next slide, please. We wanted to show you in this graphic illustration the number of states that are promoting Crash Responder Safety Week. This illustrates efforts that are ongoing, and we'll go into some of the details in a few slides of what those are. But we have gained so much momentum, and you heard Martin and Mark and Acting Administrator Pollack talk about some of those efforts. And we've grown so much through the years as we've evolved, and the name has changed, and now we're in CRSW. And we really are continuing as DOTs to promote this effort and working with our partners in law enforcement, fire, DOT towing, local DOT towing, recovery, and all responders to continue advancing the state of the practice. Next slide, please. One of the things we'll talk about are proclamations. These are ones that we know of right now, and there are a few more that are trickling in. You even heard one say today that was getting signed that, you know, governors at state levels, including my own home state, have had at the highest levels dedicated proclamations talking about the 8th through the 14th, recognizing Crash Responder Safety Week. It is truly helping allow us to bring awareness to this. But we've also heard today the theme that it's also all the other weeks of the year as well. But we'll get to the next slide talking about what some of those efforts that these states are doing and can continue to do. But we want to encourage other states to try and focus on this goal for next year. See what you can do to try and elevate this to the highest executive level and get that conversation, get your voice heard, continue to get the message out there. Let's go to the next slide and talk a little bit more about some of the tactical strategies and goals. And I want to highlight a few states. There are several states that were mentioned and shown in the graphics, but Texas, Wisconsin, Maryland, Virginia, just to name a few, what they're doing. Wisconsin, the proclamation process, they had opportunities, and the opportunities we showed at the governor level, they can be state, county, municipal, local proclamations at the highest levels, but they can also be local as well. They had examples of 208 proclamations to date in 2021. And they're all different kinds of DOT type proclamations, but they made sure to have one that was related to Crash Responder Safety Week. Texas is doing things that are related to mass trainings that you heard Acting Administrator Pollack mention, the importance of TIM responder training from the Federal Highway Administration. So they have so many TIM teams in Texas that are dedicated and focused, and they're targeting all of these mass in-person and virtual TIM trainings throughout Texas. Arizona has a mass TIM training campaign going on as well too, organized and in conjunction with their TIM coalitions and their core teams made up of multiple agencies and representatives throughout Arizona in multiple locations, and they're marketing. It's like mass marketing in a campaign. Another examples. Others include the states I just mentioned, and other states include their dynamic message signs that are out on their highways, another tool in their toolbox of intelligent transportation systems devices that are out there. And they can be messages like we're running here in my own home state of Maryland, like move over for emergency vehicles, it's the law. They can be portable message signs, move over for service vehicles, emergency vehicles. They can be Virginia and Wisconsin are running messages like see flashing lights, do what's right. Steer clear of police and fire, move over and slow down. Steer clear of tow trucks, steer clear of highway crews, steer clear of disabled motorists and vehicles. make sure you understand. You heard the Colonel say, we have move over laws in every state, but make sure you know what they apply to and what vehicles and, yellow lights as well. Make sure that you also have an opportunity that you don't miss working with your DOTs to work in conjunction with messages and messaging that can help adjunct getting the word out and keeping our responders safe. Social media. Virginia also has a great social media coordinator that I know personally, and campaigns that go out getting the messages out as well too, and safety campaigns that run during this high profile week as well as during other designated dates to get this messaging out, and they can work as well. Texas doing the same thing with messaging that I mentioned, in Nevada. There's just so many things that we can do with social media that's out there. Rest area messaging. Rest areas are a DOT that on our infrastructure and roadways and highways that we can post. People stop there. They have an opportunity to see messaging that we can post there and put in conspicuous places. And then Keith had mentioned with NHTSA and other opportunities, we don't want to miss opportunities in driver education as well too, as it correlates with our AASHTO and our DOT efforts. So we want to make sure that we continue the good progress that we just showed you with all of the states that are so actively engaged already this week and continuing throughout the year so far. Let's advance it and get it to the next level for 2022. That's my ask to all of you out there today as we continue on. Safety is a top priority for AASHTO members. It's important for all of our stakeholders to come together in this dialogue and find ways to keep our responders safe. During Crash Responder Safety Week, AASHTO will be highlighting the work of its members through social media, the daily transportation update, and the AASHTO Journal. If your agency is doing something you'd like AASHTO to highlight, send along your info to the AASHTO Digital Marketing Specialist, Caitlin Muser, at kmuser@aashto.org. And remember also, the National Operations Center of Excellence is a great resource on all things traffic incident management, among other operations related topics. Be well and stay safe. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Joey. Next up, Jeff Lindley, Deputy Executive Director, and our old Associate Administrator and champion for Federal Highway. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Jim, and good afternoon to everyone on the webinar today. Thank you for the invitation to participate. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be part of this webinar and to help kick off Crash Responder Safety Week. And congratulations to FHWA and the other stakeholders on the call for pulling this event together. I have been asked to spend a few minutes and talk a little bit about crash responder safety as a local issue, as this is sort of the core of ITE's interest. You see some activities on the slide, which I won't go into, but ITE is a 16,000 member organization of transportation professionals, and we have both public sector members and private sector members, but a lot of our focus and emphasis is on the needs and issues facing and solutions for local transportation agencies. And there is a temptation, I think, to think about traffic incident management and traffic incidents as primarily an issue that's focused on freeways and other major highways. And I think that's natural. There's a lot of traffic. That's where most of the traffic is in a state or metropolitan area. That's where most of the serious incidents take place. That's where most of the traffic impact happens. And that's the most dangerous place for responders because of the speed and the volume of traffic. But remember that virtually all fire and EMS responders, virtually all towers, and a good chunk of the law enforcement responders that respond to crashes do come from local agencies, and crashes and crash response on local roads are significant, whether those crashes take place on city streets, on rural roads, on county roads. Local roads make up the most portion of the road system in the United States. That's where most of the crashes happen, and the danger and the potential impact on first responders is just as significant on local roads as it is on freeways and the other higher level parts of the system. The other thing is that there's a further complication with local agencies in that when incidents happen on freeways and highways, there are some additional impacts for local agencies. There's diverted traffic, whether intentional or unintentional. And so things like having pre-planned detour routes in place and ways to adaptively control traffic signals and preempt traffic signals for emergency vehicles and provide real-time traveler information for folks that do divert off the freeway become really important, and use resources at the same time that local agencies are often trying to respond to the same sorts of crashes on their own system. Local agency traffic incident management and crash responder safety is important, so much so that FHWA will focus on local agency and rural area traffic incident management training in 2022, and ITE is really looking forward to that training as part of the Everyday Counts program, and we're an enthusiastic supporter of what FHWA and other stakeholders are doing in that regard through the EDC program. I wanted to close with a couple of examples of local and regional traffic incident management programs and Crash Responder Safety Week activities. And you don't really need to go very far to find some good examples. I'm sitting in Washington, D.C. If you go look at the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments website, you'll find that they have a robust regional traffic incident management program that focuses on outreach and self-assessments and training and regional cooperative agreements for this region, which includes a couple of states and the District of Columbia and dozens of local agencies. If you go up I-95 a little bit, you'll find the Baltimore Metro Council. They're hosting a TIM peer exchange tomorrow as part of Crash Responder Safety Week. If you go even further north, maybe a little to the east, and go to the Hartford, Connecticut region, you find the Capital Region Council of Governments and their press release, their activities for this week, and also a very robust TIM program. Go further west and you find the Maricopa County, Arizona Department of Transportation, which is promoting Crash Responder Safety Week through social media, through local opinion pieces, and through DMS messaging across the entire Phoenix metropolitan area. And finally, if you go even further west to the Bay Area, where I lived for some time and recognized as a very complex metropolitan area of more than 100 local jurisdictions, their TIM program and their TIM activities this week are focused on interagency activities, as you might imagine, interagency training, communication, networking, and coordination. That's just the tip of the iceberg on ways that local agencies believe in traffic incident management and are raising awareness for crash responder safety this week. That's my notes. And are just highlighting the importance of both traffic incident management and crash responder safety. Thanks again for the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you today. I hope this gives you a little bit better appreciation of the issue of crash responder safety at the local level, and I hope everyone has a safe week. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Great comments. Local level is so important, and we really appreciate your partnership on that of the Institute of Transportation Engineers. Thanks again. With that, I would like to introduce my partner, colleague of many years, and TIM Program Manager, Paul Joden.
Hey, thanks, Jim. You know, isn't this awesome? The support that Jim and I get, and we've gotten since we walked in the door here through our chain of command. You heard from them all today, all the way up to our acting administrator, and that's been like that all along. So you know, and then on top of that, we get the support. Excuse me, we get the support of folks from all over the country, all parts of the country, and all disciplines that you heard just a handful of them today. So it's just such an awesome job. And if you could go to the next slide so I can stop talking. It's just such an honor to be involved with everybody today. So I wanted to give you an overview of some of the things, just some of the things that Jim and I, and you'll hear from our colleague Joe at the very end, Joe Tebow. And but you know what we're trying to do is get a handle on this line of duty deaths, actually line of duty struck bys and deaths. We currently are trying to piece together, you know, through a number of different projects that we're coordinating. And by the way, we don't necessarily have seen this as our role at the Federal Highway Office of Operations, but no one else is doing it. So we, well, I shouldn't say no one else is doing it. We needed to play a role doing it. Others are doing it. So we don't have any idea of the number of injuries. You heard about someone that was injured today who it affects her life and her family's life. But we don't have a handle on how many are those. We think that's a significant number, but we don't know how many of those injuries are taking place. We don't know the number of struck bys overall. So how many vehicles are being struck? You know, we know, I know here I'm in Massachusetts, and I know within the last week or so, there's been 3 or 4 state trooper vehicles that have been hit. And how many don't we know about, and how many throughout the country are being hit? So, and we also don't know about the number of near misses. So we are trying diligently through the limited funds that we have to try to get a handle on these numbers. So here's the bad news. There are 54 struck by fatalities this year. And you heard earlier the number 53, but it jumped up to 54 since we gave the information to some of the folks that you heard from earlier, and that's what's been happening all year. And just a reminder, in 2020 it was 46, and in 2019 it was 44. Now, what's wrong with that? I mean, I'm not a genius when it comes to spreadsheets and trends, but that trend is going in the wrong direction. So we need to keep working. We need to keep working at it, and we need to have a better understanding of the overall issue. We know it's a big issue. We know it's a problem. You know, we've heard anecdotally for years now, but we need to get more information. So what can you do? You can help folks recommit or commit to the training. We know that we can, you know, increasing awareness of move over laws. You heard someone earlier say about, you know, the lack of awareness of move over laws, which is a problem, I think. So we know the problem is deeper than that, right? It's deeper than not just moving over. There's this whole distracted driving thing, you know, that needs to be addressed. So next slide, please. So some of the things we're working on, we're very fortunate. You heard from our partner, Keith Williams today with NHTSA and some other folks at NHTSA to have a great partnership with them. NHTSA was asked by Congress to take a look at this whole struck by problem. And so they reached out to us with some of our expertise, the researchers in Federal Highway, you know, to work on the assessment of, to work on this whole problem with responder struck by. So some of the things we're doing is working on the assessment of responder struck by data. So where can we get this data and how can we get it? We're looking at move over laws and compliance and efficacy, and, you know, how do the move over laws work and are they working? And that's where we're looking at now. We have an intense research project on that. We're also, as part of the same effort, looking at technologies that may improve responder safety. We know it's out there and it's coming. It's not just responder, it's roadside worker. We're also looking at roadside worker safety as well, and that includes movable barriers and other efforts. Other things we're working on that's related to this effort this week is secondary crash research, and includes struck by data. We're looking at that. We're actually getting crash reports in different states around the country where data exists, and trying to sort it out so we can have a better understanding of the problem. National responder training is a core of our program, and we're still pushing that. We think it's important piece. We were talking to a colleague, and I won't be specific, but we're talking to a colleague just earlier this week, and they mentioned about he's doing an after action for a fatality that happened, somewhere in the country, and he was going to facilitate an after action. I say I often wonder if the responders that get struck have received the training, and the response came back very quickly. This crew did not have the training. So I wonder how much, how often that happens and how much that thing. But I do know that the training is a tool in the toolbox that can help with safety. We do know that. It's just, the national responder training is primarily, in large part, it's responder training recommended practices. So, but we have various other projects that are, that look at responder exposure and how can we help the problem. While we're helping the problem, we're making our roads more efficient, right? Well, we're reducing exposure, reducing the time on scene. We're in effect helping with the operations of the highway, movement of freight, things like that. Next slide. So just so that you know that there is a lot of activities throughout the country, and I'm going to sort of brag a little bit about a lot of these activities. It's not about me. These are committees that happen around the country, and they don't happen because Federal Highway asked them to happen. They happen because they get together and work on this because it's important and it makes sense. Multidisciplinary committees that work on a number of things, and I won't read the slides on the left to you, but the activity is going on throughout the country, but it's not enough. We need more. We need more. We need more of this activity in order to improve responder struck bys. Next slide. Excuse me. So we talked about the training. We've been training since 2012, and it's not us that's been training. We've been training in partnerships with basically every single state in the country, DC and Puerto Rico. You can see the total number trained right there. But our goal when we started this is 1.2 million, and that's based on estimates that came from the state. So we have a long way to go. We feel the training is important. It's important to respond to safety. So we're asking for you, in whatever role you play out there, to help advance the training. We think that it's a tool that each responder that has boots on the ground on the highway should understand some of these recommended practices to improve their safety as well as the safety of others. We are, next slide, please. We are in a constant effort to continue with the trainer cadre, if you will, and we are offering some virtual train the trainer sessions going to be coming up on your screen there. We'll be sending more information on this, but if you know that you have some responders, some trainers that could use a train the trainer session to help advance with the training, you see some dates there, but we'll be sharing, we'll be sending out to everyone on this call and more some opportunities to increase the train the trainer cadre out there, the trainers out there. So. Next slide, please. So Jeff Lindley mentioned the next generation Tim, I think. So someone did. Tim is important to all roads, but we've known that for quite some time. It's a significant problem on local roads as well as what we normally think about the freeways. And some of the data that we're pulling identifies struck-bys on local roads. So responders are getting struck, killed and injured on local roads. So this next generation TIM area program we put in for an application, Jim and I, and requested some additional funding to push innovative practices and best practices, if you will. And we received some training, and these are the areas that we're trying to push. And so next slide, please. We've got quite a bit of support from around the country, with most states participating, trying to advance technology. And we have some funding to work with folks to advance some aspects of technology and some of the training, of course, data collection, and then local TIM, how can we advance to drill down to the local. And when I say local, I mean rural as well. To rural. TIM is for everywhere, everything. Next slide, please. So we have some fact sheets that can help you explain things out there. They've just been recently approved, Introduction to Traffic Incident Management. So if you're trying to explain what traffic incident management is, we have a fact sheet that you can do that. We have, some of the other aspects of the next generation TIM are listed there. I won't read them all to you, but if we will be posting them on the Federal Highway website soon, as well as the National Center of Excellence website, who we partner with. And then if you really could use one of these fact sheets sooner rather than later, you can reach out to Jim or I. So, next slide, please. We continue to make progress. I fully believe we're making progress towards safety. The institutionalization of the training require the towers to, if you want to work for our state or local government, you have to have the training. Continue to adjust to enhance the collection of the TIM data. Of course, the technologies, we're looking at what we can do to advance the technologies as well. So there is technologies coming in the future with connected and automated vehicles that we think that's going to help with improving safety. But the road users, the road users can move over and slow down, and they can, fully understand and receive those notifications from these new apps that are coming. Notification when responders are in the roadway. Next slide. Yeah, so we wanted, was this what I was supposed to say? Go ahead, you take it, Jim, right? I thought they had an assignment.
No, go ahead, Paul. We missed this slide.
Yeah. Oh, so the slide on the proclamation. So this is your chance to, that if you signed up for the proclamation, do something a little bit extra for beyond signing the proclamation. Make sure these themes are followed during this week, and or anything else that you might do with our collective ability to advance responder safety. So with that, Jim, I think I'll pass it back to you.
Paul, thank you. I know we don't have much time, but you covered things well, my friend. Thank you. Next up, we have Linda Unruh to share a very important story about her son, but I'll tell you, besides a great friend and partner with the National TIM program, Linda also owns a towing company in New Mexico, All Right Towing. And again, listen to Linda's story here, which is very Very compelling, and we thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Jim. I'm honored to be here today and to be included in the Crash Responder Safety Week. I would like to start off with an extended thank you to everyone who has helped with Bobby's Law along the way. From the bottom of my heart. My name is Linda Unruh. I'm the former owner of All Right Towing and Repair out of Tucumcari, New Mexico. I was the first woman in the state of New Mexico to obtain my towing license. I ran my company for 30 years, and each one of my employees were my family. We all worked together to make it happen to help the next person stranded on our highways. During the time of me running my business, my children stayed close as I raised them as a single mother in the industry. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey to one of the most dangerous places for all emergency responders, our roads and highways, a place where split-second decisions are made and actions are taken, just like a pilot. Decisions that can change lives all around you, including your own. According to the CDC, at least 43 for every 100,000 tow truck operators are killed. For all other private industries combined, that number is only 3 of 100,000 deaths. In all 50 states, there is a move over law. We know that means that drivers are required to slow down and change lanes when they're approaching the emergency vehicles stopped on the side of the highways. Yet, nearly a quarter of all drivers say they don't know there's a law about move over. And more than 40% say they don't know that failure to move over is dangerous to roadside emergency workers and fellow motorists. My son Bobby made one of those decisions to save a fellow first responder, tow truck operator. The day was February 19, 2017. However, it's a day I relive every day since then. All it took was one 18-wheeler who failed to take notice, failed to slow down, and failed to move over. That day, our lives changed. Bobby was called out to assist a recovery just west of Tucumcari, New Mexico, when an 18-wheeler on I-40 veered towards them while working against a guardrail. Bobby noticed the 18-wheeler approaching at a high rate of speed and ran from his safe haven. With very little reaction time, Bobby pushed the other driver into the large toolbox, ran toward the front of the tow truck, seeking safety. The driver of the 18-wheeler did not slow down, and he did not move over. Instead, that driver reached speeds of 82 miles per hour, uncannily crossing the white line, hitting the door off the wrecker, sending my son airborne, and then running over him with all 18 wheels of his truck. That split-second decision cost my son's life and changed our life forever. That was the last time I was able to hear my son's voice. His last words to me were, "Mom, I promise you no one will get hurt on my watch. I'll call you when I'm finished." I said, "Okay, I'll wait for that call." Bobby was a single dad with 2 young boys and a daughter. His family was his life, and he did everything he could to take care of his children. He would pass on his boys little things he had learned growing up in the towing industry. That dreadful day was the last day we could hear his voice, see his infectious smile. It was the last day that his children would feel his warm hugs and have his support as their dad. That driver took so much from failing to slow down and to move over. The last moments Bobby got to spend with his children, he was dropping them off to go on that life-changing call. He knelt down and he gave each one of his boys a penny with a shield on the back of it. Bobby told his boys, not that anything's ever going to happen to me, but if it ever does happen to me, anytime you see a penny with a shield on it, just know I'm sending you pennies from heaven, and know that I'll always be with you. None of them knew that would be their last conversation with their dad. With the shield of the penny, we now use this emblem to represent safety for all first responders working on our highways. That cross sits where my son's life was taken. But now I don't only fight for towers, I fight for all first responders. Just before funeral services could even be arranged, I had learned that the slow down move over law for the state of New Mexico did not include tow truck operators as first responders. It was that moment my fight for first responders' lives had started. We started petitioning Senate Bill 76 as Bobby's Law and started asking people from the community to show support of it. Before we knew it, we even had state representatives calling to help the cause. There was a point where the governor's office called directly asking us to please have the people stop calling in. They couldn't handle the call volume anymore. My fight was relentless and continues to still be that. With just 12 hours before the closing of legislation, with all the calls and the help from not only the community and state representatives, but also from the New Mexico Trucking Association and all of the people all over the world, actually, 19 days after Bobby had been killed, Governor Susana Martinez signed Senate Bill 76, including tow truck operators as first responders, and stating that any emergency vehicle with hazard lights flashing is considered a first response vehicle, and the approaching traffic are to slow down and to move over. It was a big step, but I wasn't finished. The bill still recognizes Senate Bill 76. However, as of January 24, 2018, the bill was carried through legislation by legislator Dennis Roche to be memorialized as being New Mexico's House Joint Memorial Bill 7, calling it Bobby's Law. This bill states the slow down, move over law will be named in Bobby's memory. But again, it didn't stop there. On January 26, 2018, New Mexico Senator Jim White carried the New Mexico House Joint Memorial Bill 7 through the Senate. The bill was signed and finalized that day as a double joint memorial bill in the state of New Mexico to slow down and move over law. The law will forever be in my son's memory, as we know it being called Bobby's Law. Our nation has made some big steps with our move over laws since my son's death. However, to be able to become a vital platform for change, proper mandates for education and training need to be placed as well. Training for safer, faster, stronger, more integrated response TIM training is offered as a structured protocol to save lives. And if the proper training were to be mandatory across all 50 states, then all of our first responders would be prepared for the day-to-day dangers of our highways. Every day in our nation is a chance to push harder for change. Over the past 30 years of being in the towing business, being able to work with other first responders such as EMS, fire, law enforcement, roadside workers, I've learned that we all are family out there working our highways. We know each other. We know their families. We all protected and loved each other. We all keep others safe because we all deserve to go home. A family is a circle of love, not broken by loss, but stronger by memories. My son didn't have to die that day, but he gave his life for another first responder to be able to live theirs so they could go home to their children and to their wife and to their loved ones. I'm going to leave you all with a quote that I hold on to real close, and that is, greater hath no love than this, than to lay down his life for his friends. John 15:13. And I carry that with all first responders because every one of those responders are out there to help somebody stay safe. I want to thank you all. God bless, and I love you all. Thank you.
Jim, you're on mute. Jim, you're on mute.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul. And thank you, Linda. I'd like to take a moment, everyone, for a few seconds of silence for Bobby and for the 54 responders thus far this year, ladies and gentlemen. So if you would, please. Thank you. Okay. Thanks again, Linda. Next on our agenda, last but not least, our new teammate, Joe Tebow, the Federal Highway TIM program. Joe has important remarks as well. Joe?
Thanks, Jim. Greetings, everybody. Crash Responder Safety Week. This is our time. Time to move the safety needle in our favor. Being a part of this TIM team is both an honor and a privilege for me. You all are remarkable people doing remarkable things. As a 40-year plus veteran of the volunteer fire rescue and EMS discipline here in my hometown, my family's a first responder family. My wife, firefighter medic. My son, firefighter medic. My daughter, medic and fire dispatcher. You know, the Tebow family's all in on responder safety. So every incident touches us deeply. So I, like many of you, recall those days when crash response was handled in a very different way. In my early days as a responder, most of the time, a crash was handled by an EMS unit and a law enforcement unit. And eventually a towing recovery unit would arrive, but more often than not, you know, my unit was long gone by the time that they arrived. And the officer was left alone and handled the scene as warranted. Safety service patrols and roadway assistance units, they were either non-existent or in their infancy stages. So simple things like a variable message board, they hadn't even been invented yet. At that time, it all seemed okay to us. You know, we got the job done. But in hindsight, we were very primitive with how we responded to traffic incidents. Now, don't get me wrong, right? We got the job done, but at times it was treacherous. I experienced a stray vehicle breaching my safety zone crashing violently just a few yards from my operation. No responders were injured, no equipment was damaged, but the driver of the vehicle that breached was severely injured. You know, when it happens fast. You're simply at its mercy at that point. Many of us here have a huge advantage. We've seen the incredible evolution of traffic incident management. We are the historians of TIM. We are the educators of the next generation of responders. We have an obligation to them, to teach them, to train them, allow them to become the champions of that following generation of responders. We've witnessed incredible improvements in training, technology, tools, and equipment in the past 20 plus years for our responders. And we're making progress on institutionalizing traffic incident management for emergency responders in the training academies. As we heard, some jurisdictions are even researching the possibility of incorporating aspects of TIM into their driver education courses and driver licenses written tests. Now that's how we institutionalize TIM for the motoring public and take hold of enhancing responder safety for generations to come at the grassroots level. Yet we know that a key element to our safety is educating the motoring public. So this is our time. How do we do that, right? Tried it for years now, right? We've been tackling the problem, you know, in the most logical ways, right? From top down, executive leadership support, from the bottom up, by training our first line responder disciplines. Now, in a perfect world, those two methods would meet in the middle. But I want to draw some focus and attention on that middle. I call it the gray zone, the motoring public. It's the one factor that we can't take direct control of. The challenges are real. Distracted, drugged, drunk, and now we even have driverless or autonomous vehicles to take attention to. You know, these all remain huge factors. Slow down, move over laws, the Bobby law, exist in all 50 states, yet random surveys indicate a huge number of motorists aren't even aware of the law. And to me, that's very disturbing. But this is our time to scream from the mountaintops, to educate the public and request them, no, demand that they do their part, participate, keeping us safe. We know of the senseless responder fatalities, but the stories from behind the scene, they tell of countless severe injuries, critical injuries, career-changing and career-ending injuries to responders that happen daily almost. We've heard some of those stories here today. Now, beyond that, there's untold numbers of close calls, near misses, including millions of dollars in damage to critical equipment. So the absolute madness has to stop. Responder safety, traffic incident management, for me, I look at it, it's a journey without a final destination. There is no end zone. We can never pull back or stand down. Traffic incident management saves lives every day, about 16,000 times a day in our nation. We all respond to crashes. Our exposure to deadly risks during a crash response is incredible. So we need help in every possible way. I see the numbers of fatalities, but I also take time to see their faces. Never, and I mean never, should a responder who's working at the scene of a traffic incident suffer a tragedy of their own. So let's all push hard to educate the motoring public, not just this week, but every day of the year. In the fire service, we have a saying: amongst each other, we'll say, strong work. It means safe work. Do your best work. So to you, I say, strong work. And by all means, keep your head on a swivel at all times. Because when it happens fast. Ladies and gentlemen, it's National Crash Responder Safety Week. This is our time. Let's go. Let's save lives. I salute you all. Thank you for joining us and for all that you do. So ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our webinar. Thank you again. You're now free to drop. God bless.